Is the energy lockdown now being prepared for all of Europe, and the global political situation is becoming more and more tense? And please take a moment to let the following 5 sentences sink in and write below what you thought about them. Is it really right that a dictator was overthrown through democratic elections? And a democratic leader, even though no new elections are taking place, even though he is as unpopular as one can be, still remains in office without democratic elections. That's exactly the point we're seeing here in Europe right now. That's why there are riots all over the world now, because people are fed up with their governments. And maybe you already have noticed who I'm really talking about here. If not, it's going to be extremely exciting. And if I may ask you for just one thing, please leave a like and subscribe to this channel so we can reach even more people.
The European Council has decided that Hungary and maybe Slovakia and the Czech Republic will be excluded from the 90 billion borrowing, so it doesn't affect our countries. Personally, I agree that Hungary should be kept out of this matter. Hungary is in a very difficult financial situation. I can say that from the very beginning we have said that we do not support Ukraine's accelerated EU accession. On the one hand, it is a country at war.
While in England, for example, there are currently intense street fights. I will show you that in a moment. Is it now the case in Hungary that the new head of government is not making any effort at all to approach the EU in any way? But now the EU has come up with something new. Namely, they could simply exclude countries like the Czech Republic, Slovakia, or even Hungary from the vote and say, okay, we'll just vote without you. You don't have to pay the whole bill. And there are already some heads of state who say, no, it's not that simple, because this is also about stability. And the new the new Hungarian prime minister is now probably taking an even tougher, more anti-social course than Viktor Orban actually did. The only thing that's really there, and I really have to say, it's kind of strange that you can vote a dictator out of office with democratic elections. And this person on the very same evening just says, okay, I understand that and I resign. So not that I resign, but I hand over power in a proper way. After all, I'm a human being, I'm civilized. I would have expected something different from dictators, at least that they would cling to power more. But all right, let's move on to the next country. Take a look at what it looks like in England this morning. And these aren't pictures taken after a demonstration showing how bad it looks there, but just normal images from London, where people in London, including Tony Robinson, no longer agree with it. And now on the 16th May, he is calling for the next demonstration to take to the streets. And by now, more than 2 million people have registered here to take to the streets for our freedom. I just wonder, how much longer will it take in Germany until people have had enough and are fed up? And just like that, march to the parliament to force Friedrich Merz to resign. And what happened in Poland this morning or yesterday should make all of us pause for a moment and think, just take a quick look at this.
Thank you. That's exactly how it should look.
By the way, he released that in the context of the conversation, saying something like, look at what Israel is doing to us. Just based on fuel prices, the economy, and the social unrest that exists here in Germany. He kind of embellished it a bit, let's say, by saying how he basically forced Donald Trump, more or less, to go into Iran. While here in Europe and also in Poland, the situation is really on the verge of exploding. And Germany is still comparatively very, very calm compared to everyone else. Now, in Ireland, it has even come to the point that starting today, not even buses are running to the schools anymore. Here too, they've made a major cut. We are no longer engaging with this government after they didn't resign yesterday. Yes, and while the world is burning, things don't look any different in Japan. They may have nothing to do with Europe, but people there are also out on the streets and, let's say, being held back by the police. But see for yourselves.
I'm not Japan. I have a pain. I don't want to stop working here.
I don't want to have a lot of pain.
So this whole energy thing is now slowly going to expand into a worldwide issue. And yes, the Strait of Hormuz still seems to be completely closed this morning. And yesterday the EU responded to it, and here I found a great article about it.
Observers assume that in the first step, it probably won't be about direct shutoffs yet, but rather about control, for example, through allocations and higher prices. At the same time, the topic is increasingly moving into the political debate. This could be an indication that further measures are being prepared.
So as of this morning, a lockdown is not, I would say, ready to be announced yet, but they're already preparing it in the background, as this report makes extremely clear. That means there will probably soon be electricity rationing or energy rationing here in Germany. And at the same time, of course, our federal government comes along and says, yes, we have to cancel May 1st, dear federal government. If you ever hear this, have you thought about that? No energy, no work, no economy. This country is going to the dogs. Simple economic math. Yes, I learned that back in school.
I learned that in school.
One example is the transition to majority voting in foreign policy. That is an important way to avoid systematic blockades. That is a good idea. Use it to really make progress on this issue.
Now really to move forward on that topic.
The message from Slovakia, of course, took its time to arrive. And I have to tell you, they don't agree with it at all. Because all the Eastern countries are massively disadvantaged by this, since, for example, they also have very right-wing governments, among other things. And they're already vetoing it here. At the same time, Slovenia and Slovakia are preparing to leave NATO. Both have said that NATO can no longer be seen as a defensive alliance. And because of all these regulations from the EU, NATO, and Donald Trump's unilateral actions, who is now, among other things, calling on NATO to provide assistance, where Germany has now said, yes, we will send military forces after all, but not under the flag of the USA. Slovenia and Slovakia are, as of today, considering that they might leave NATO because NATO apparently is dead. So, to round off the whole topic, this just came from Ursula von der Leyen, and I quote, "It is up to the parents to raise their children, not the platforms." The European Age Verification app is now ready and can be implemented so that we know exactly who you are. When you do something and what you watch, because all of that can now be tracked and can now be introduced in the European Parliament. So you don't need to monitor the chats anymore. Now you can just see everything about you digitally through the app. This is now the EU's new move, to really control us, to keep us from passing on real values to our children out on the street. That's it again from our midday report. What we've been doing lately, where we summarize the whole global political situation a bit, always first and foremost in a way that's in line with Europe, of course. And we'll see you again this evening with the top headlines or the top political news. So stay tuned today at 7 p.m. ARD assignment.